Hey guys, this is a Patreon Q&A. If you would like to be in next week's video, simply check out the link in the description and you can sign up there. I'm also going to be going into spoilers for all the series I'm going to be talking about. Jon C asks, are we just going to forget about our good boy WATCHDOG Man? And how he literally took an entire seat during the whole Monster Association arc. He was literally less involved than even Blast. So yeah, that's definitely true. Both statements here. We did forget about him for sure. I mean, there's been a lot going on in the story lately, and considering that he's been absent, it's understandable that we would forget about him. But I'm glad that you brought him up because we could just go over him as a character here and what could possibly be going on with him and why he was absent from the battle. So I think the last time we saw WATCHDOG Man was actually when he fought against Garo, like almost at this point 100 chapters ago. So that's like almost 100 chapters without him doing anything. I mean, we saw him in a flashback, but that's not really anything. So the reason why he wasn't at the Monster Association battle is because he decided to stay in his home of Q City and protect it. That's kind of like his thing. And I'll go more into why he could be so protective of that place later, but at this point, I guess we're supposed to be slightly suspicious of WATCHDOG Man, maybe, because there's been multiple instances where he's been implied to be like a monster or just something that's not entirely human. Like when Garo is remembering back to when he fought against WATCHDOG Man, he says, that guy is inhuman. The old man never taught me how to fight such monsters. Now, does that mean that he's literally like a monster or an inhuman? Well, no. But going further to the redraw for chapter 99, Phoenix Man is essentially trying to like recruit Child Emperor for like his costume monster organization or whatever. And he says, WATCHDOG Man will soon be one of us. And I always thought that was interesting because it makes you wonder, like, well, WATCHDOG Man wears a costume just like how Phoenix Man does. So what's really separating them other than Phoenix Man, you know, being like a psycho? And as for WATCHDOG Man, we assume that he's not because he's a hero. And then another interesting thing happened in chapter 144. After Tank Top Master gets wrecked by Pure Ugly, Bang comes over to him and he's like, his heartbeat is stopped. And Genos comes over to like defibrillate him. And as Bang tries to remove his shirt, it suddenly like becomes self-aware or something and like rips itself out of Bang's hand, and it snaps back to Tank Top Master's chest so hard that it like resuscitates him. And Tank Top Master just says that it's Tank Top magic or whatever. But I think this is all kind of possibly connecting here, because if we go back to when Dr. Genus is explaining how people become monsters, he says there is an explosion of frustration resulting from unsatisfied desires and the urge to transform. Driven by destructive behaviors and psychological complexes, the individual's past circumstances and other factors may give rise to cellular abnormalities and spontaneous mutations. So Tank Top Master kind of fits some of those prerequisites. He does have frustration from unsatisfied desires. He's realized throughout the story his place in the S-Class and how he's essentially one of the weaker ones for sure. He's been put in his place by Tatsumaki and Metal Knight. On top of that, he definitely has some psychological complexes with how odd he is about the tank top and his faith in it and everything. I mean, he literally has like a cult centered around it. So it's possible that these factors are giving rise to a cellular abnormality and a spontaneous mutation with like his tank top monsterizing possibly. I mean, this is literally what happened with Phoenix Man. He was wearing the bird braid costume when he was an actor, and his own individual factors led to it monsterizing and becoming sentient, therefore completely monsterizing him. And that raises the question of like, is this happening with WATCHDOG Man too? Because he could very likely have some of these factors himself, especially the past circumstances aspect. Because at this point, it's been made painfully aware that WATCHDOG Man is based off of Hachiko. Hachiko is like this famous Japanese dog from I think like the 20s. And his story is like he would meet his owner at like this train station every day until fortunately the owner died. But Hachiko would still go to the train station and meet him there every day despite him never returning. And he wound up doing this for like 9 years straight. And because of that, he became like a legend in Japan, and they made like a statue out of him at that very station. And this is where we get the whole WATCHDOG Man, you know, always protecting Q City, always going to the same spot and emulating the Hachiko statue. So it's very possible that he has a tragic backstory just like Hachiko, and this could lead to a slow monsterization possibly, and could explain why he's so abnormally strong. I mean, not every human who is strong necessarily is a monster or becoming one. There are some outliers, of course, as we've seen, but just with Watchdog Man, as we've gone over, he's implied to be somewhat sus. And as for why he is so protective of Q City, well, we really have no idea at this point. It could play into his backstory, or it could play into the larger part in the story's overall plot, to be honest. Because if we go to the section on Watchdog Man and the One Punch Man Encyclopedia, it says there seems to be some hidden reason behind limiting his activities to Q City, which is rumored to be one of the most prolific areas for monster outbreaks. And at first, I never really knew what to make of this because we had very limited knowledge on the overarching story, to be honest. But now that we've gotten more insight into what's going on with God and how that stuff works, it's possible that he could be protecting something in Q City, not necessarily Q City itself. Like, there might be something there that only he's aware of, and he always has to be there to make sure that it doesn't fall into the wrong hands, possibly, or something like that. Because we saw that under the Monster Association, there was like that altar for the resurrection of God, and we also saw recently the Cruel Dragon Temple was unearthed through Saitama and Garo's fight. So it's possible that there's like some kind of God-related ancient thing there or something like that that Watchdog Man is ultimately trying to protect because it's super important. And whatever it is could possibly be why there are so many monster outbreaks in Q City, possibly. But other than that, we really don't have much, if anything, to go off of Watchdog Man. Like I said, we haven't seen him since his fight with Garo, at least real time in the story, and in the webcomic it's even longer than that. Like, I don't even think he's done anything in the webcomic, to be honest. So I think One has something special planned for him, and you know, he could show up in the new arc that we're going into in the manga, but I really wouldn't be surprised at this point if everything that One has planned for him is like gonna happen in the final arc or something, and we just get mad exposition dumps and his ultimate big backstory that comprises like an entire chapter, maybe. Chance asks, in terms of One Piece bounties, what do you think the berry numbers equal in terms of USD or yen? Just wondering how much the pirates would be worth in the real world, thanks. So I've always kind of assumed that they were more so yen than anything, because the numbers are just so outrageously large. Like, obviously we see the highest bounties are in the billions, and I don't think that necessarily correlates to like $1 billion US dollars, because that's absurd. So I think it's more so yen, because obviously it's a manga, but maybe Oda clarified this in one of the 6,000 SBSs or something. I'm not really sure, but it does make sense if it is yen too, because if we do like yen to US dollar conversion, it starts being realistic for like the highest bounties. Because like, for example, Luffy's bounty of 3 billion would be like over $21 million. And that kind of lines up with some of the highest bounties ever, to be honest. Like, I think Osama bin Laden's bounty was like 25 million or something, so it makes sense. Little Ferrari asks, do you think Beerus would get a ridiculous increase in power as well if he trained like Frieza did? So this is a great question, and I really don't know. I mean, we know that Beerus doesn't really train anymore because he feels, I guess, content with the amount of power that he has, or he's just become so lazy or whatever. But we ultimately don't really know much about Beerus, to be honest. And it's possible that he's reached like his power cap, maybe, but I would like to assume that he still could train and get stronger, possibly. But man, the verdict is really out. Like, if it's ultimately revealed that he can't get any stronger, I really wouldn't be surprised, and also vice versa. MajinBoros asks, hey MajinBoros. Fernando P asks, who is your favorite characters in the series you cover? So One Punch Man, my favorite character is probably Garo. In One Piece, I really like all of them, to be honest. Really like Zoro, really like Blackbeard, really like Luffy. I think he's like one of the best shonen MCs, maybe the best one. In My Hero, really like Bakugo, really like All Might before he got nerfed. In Jujutsu Kaisen, I like Yuji, Megumi, Gojo. Dragon Ball, I like Vegeta and Frieza. Zeldoor asks, do you think the Ninja Leader will get an actual on-page fight in the manga? If so, who would you want to see him fight? So I really hope so, but I wouldn't be surprised if it winds up just playing out the same way it did in webcomic, with Saitama just off-screen one-punching him through the pavement. But considering the way that things are changing so much in the manga and becoming more grand, I think we might see him fight. If not, hopefully we get a flashback of him going against Blast. But at this point, it's just too difficult to figure out like who he could actually fight fight since he didn't really fight anybody. I mean, it would be cool if we saw Flashy and Sonic team up to go against him, but that just seems too good at this point. That's what I would like to see, but I'm just not going to get my hopes up. William H asks, I guess the big question in One Punch Man is, has this time travel feat affected Blast and God's memories? What do you think? I don't think it's affected God. I'm pretty sure he's fully aware of what's going on here. Like, he probably exists outside of space and time to some degree, so he possibly sees everything that's going on regardless of how it's altered. So I really wouldn't be surprised if he's aware of what had happened for sure. But as for Blast, the verdict is still out on him because he was in another dimension when all this was happening. So it's like, you know, when he comes back, will he be aware of it? Because he would technically be coming back to the old timeline regardless. So I guess he would be unaffected possibly, but he may be aware that there's something going on with Saitama. Like, he's like a fusion of the past and the present possibly, along with Genos' cores. Like, maybe he knows something about them, or he can like feel that there's something off with it. Mr. Toby 1018 asks, I don't ever ask you Dragon Ball questions, but do you think the writers are setting up an Avengers type of storyline with the amount of power-ups the cast are getting? It's like Power Rangers almost. So I'm not really getting my hopes up with the writing in Dragon Ball at this point. I mean, yeah, that would be amazing if all of these new powerful characters team up, like Broly, Beast Gohan, Vegeta, Goku, Orange Piccolo. I mean, that would be incredible. But whenever I think something grand like that is going to happen, we wind up just getting the Granola arc. So I mean, I really don't know what they're going to do at this point and who all of these powerful characters would need to go against. Like, we would probably have to go to another universe to have like a team or set amount of characters equivalent to them so that they all have their individual opponents, you know? I mean, I would like for them to all team up on one big bad. That would be cool, but also we need to kind of get Bleach with these arcs sometimes, I think. Anomaly asks, didn't know you were a Guyver fan. Guyver and Akira mangas are so well done. Hey, I agree. All for One reminds me of Richard Guillot, and Dr. Yujiko reminds me of Barkus. Yeah, now that you mention it, I guess they are kind of similar. Imagine a Guyver unit existed and Toshinori wore it to help out Deku. Am I the only one who sees similarities with Zoonoids and Nomus? So kind of, but more so the Zoonoids are like in control and can go between human and monster, which would be cool with the Nomus. I would like to see that actually happen. Like, there's some kind of different Nomu who can go between human and like his transformed Nomu state. I think that would be really interesting actually. But as for All Might getting like a suit or something, maybe would seem inauthentic to himself since he was always relying on his own power more than anything. So I mean, could it happen? Sure, and I would rather he fight than not fight, but just want him to be rewound if anything. But yeah, that's pretty much it for the video today, guys. Once again, I want to thank all of my patrons for continuing to support me. Thank you so much, guys. I really do appreciate it. And once again, if you would like to be in next week's video, check out the link in the description. You can sign up there. Also, if you liked the video, please give it a like and subscribe if you haven't already. Have a great day, everyone. I'll see you in the next one.